Let me go over solution for homework number 7. The first problem we have uh, two measurements. One was number of hours of study and the grade the student received from statistics course. So uh, for the for example, number of hours student studied 1 hour, the grade was 60, 2 hours was 65, 3 hours 75, 3 hours 74, and so forth. So there is a scatter plot. I ask you, what does this scatter plot shows? So basically, it seems there is a positive linear association between number of hours of study and grade. If you look at the number of hours of study, by increasing the number, the grade is increasing, and it's sort of like perfect line there. So that's the correct answer. And I ask you to look at what is the sample Pearson correlation. Again, you could have used this table and calculate basically the calculation you have is you have to calculate SXX, SYY, SXY using the formula again, replacing x for SX, x squared would be times the x bar squared over n. You get 30. The same for y squared, which is 63301 minus the mean for y bar squared divided by 10, and then the SXY, which was 3,332 minus the mean x bar times y bar divided by n. And then you can easily calculate R from SXY and over the square root of SXS and SYY, and you get 0.99, so which was the correct answer. The other question was, what is the T statistic for test if the correlation, population correlation equals 0 at alpha 0.05? Again, using the formula, we know our hypothesis is rho equals 0 versus rho is not. It's two-side test. T statistic is R times the square root of n minus 2 over 1 minus r squared, which is 0.992 times 10 minus 2, 1 minus 0.992 times 0.992, and you get 22.18, and you have to find the t-value from table, which is 2.306. And if you do the hypothesis testing, 22.18 is greater than 2.306, we reject null and conclude there is a linear positive relationship between number of hours of study and grade. So the correct answer for the C part was 22.8. What is your conclusion? One was correct answer, which is yes, we reject the null and conclude there is a positive linear relationship. Problem 2, we have a physical activity and anxiety. So for each subject, for example, for subject 1, the anxiety was 20, the physical activity 90, to subject 2, 21, 92, and so forth. So, and I ask, what does the scatter plot shows? Again, here you see there is a trend going down. That means there is a negative relation. By increasing physical activity, the anxiety goes down. And I ask you to calculate, so the 2 was correct answer. There is a negative linear association between anxiety and physical activity. I ask you to calculate Pearson correlation. Again, using the same formula and same process we did it. If you calculate R would be, first you calculate SXX and SYY and SXY, and easily replacing their s square and divided by the x bar square over 10, you get the information you needing to plug the correlation formula, and you would get minus 0.89, which is the correct answer here is negative 0.90, which we rounded up. Or negative 0.89, sorry. What is the t statistic for hypothesis if rho equals 0 and at alpha 0.05? Again, using the same formula, t equals r times the square root n minus 2 minus r squared. If you plug in the information, you get negative 5.8. And for alpha 0.01, here negative 5.80 is less than negative 3.355. We reject null and conclude that there is a linear negative relationship between anxiety and physical activity. So with the exam for alpha 0.01 here instead of alpha, again, the correct answer is yes. And the next one was I asked you to calculate the sample experiment correlation coefficient. Again, using the following is the SAS output for Pearson and the sample. You have to rank first each one, rank for anxiety from lowest to highest value, and the same you would rank for physical activity. Then you take the difference from physical activity minus that, you square that value. So then you can use this formula to get the experiment correlation. If you do that, you get negative 0.903, and that's again is very close to Pearson correlation, which was negative 0.89, and this is the SAS output. So the correct answer again was negative 0.90 for Pearson experiment correlation. Now, the third question, we have the following metrics. We have anxiety, physical activity, smoking, and anxiety is our outcome, and we physical activity x1 and smoking x2. What is the highest correlation in table? If you look at the highest is, you have to look at in terms of absolute value. You have three correlation, negative 0.6, 0.8, 0.4. So the anxiety and smoking is the highest, 0.8. What is the partial correlation between anxiety and physical activity after controlling for smoking? Again, we look in anxiety and physical activity after controlling for smoking. So if you look at the formula, again, for partial linear correlation, you're using RY12. So here, RY1 is your physical activity and mainly physical activity, anxiety and physical activity, which is negative 0.6, and minus RY2 correlation between anxiety and smoking, 0.8, and times the correlation between physical activity and smoking, which is negative 0.4. And again, here you replace that by the denominator, which is 1 minus correlation between square correlation between physical activity and anxiety, which is negative 0.4 squared, times 1 minus correlation between anxiety and physical activity, smoking, which is 0.8. So here was again physical activity and smoking negative 0.4, and anxiety and smoking 0.8 square. If you calculate that, you get negative 0.51, which is tell you there is a negative linear association between anxiety and physical activity of controlling for smoking after removing effect of smoking from anxiety and physical activity, both variable. So, and what is the semi-partial? Basically, the semi-partial, you just taking the effect of smoking from your independent variable, which was physical activity, not from your outcome. 0.8 was for your outcome. So you get negative 0.30. Again, here, the same interpretation, but removing smoking from physical activity. So the correct answer was negative 0.31. Now, the fourth question, I asked you to use the article factor analysis of psychometric and ask you what statistical test do you think used for table 2? If you look at it, was Pearson correlation. So this is a table 2. So if these are all correlation between content, context, timing, and style. So we had and mother adolescent scale also. So you have 5 factor, and this is the metrics for correlation. And question 2 was, what is the correlation between content and style? Easily from table, you can see content and style is 0.53, is significant, is positive. If you look at all those correlation, if it's less than, the second value is p-value. If it's less than 0.05 is significant. So for example, content is significant between context, style, and moderate adult scale, not with timing. So what is correlation between context and factor of for style? And so you look at the context and style, again 0.32 is the correct answer. How many correlation are positive from table? So you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 7 positive correlation. That's the correct answer. So I hope this feedback help you to clarify if you have any question about this assignment, and if you miss something and you understand better. If you have a still question, you can contact me.